The hotel sat at the end of a forgotten street. Its sign, the Merrow House, flickered weakly in the fog. No one remembered when it was built. Some said it had always been there. Daniel Mercer arrived on a cold Thursday evening. He was a journalist chasing ghosts, the metaphorical kind. His editor had sent him to write about the vanishing guests of Merrow House. He didn't believe in stories like that. But he needed the money. And the silence of the city had started to bother him. The lobby was dim and smelled faintly of smoke. A woman sat behind the counter, her hairpin tight. Checking in, she asked. Yes. Daniel Mercer. Reservation for 3 nights. Room 313, she said without looking up. Lucky number, he joked. If you say so, she murmured. She handed him a brass key with a red ribbon tied around it. No one stays past midnight on the 3rd night, she added. He laughed. Superstition? Something like that. The elevator groaned as it carried him upward. The hallway was long, lined with portraits. Every face seemed to follow him. The carpet muffled his steps. Room 313 waited at the end, its door slightly ajar. Weird, he muttered. He pushed it open. The room was old but clean. A large portrait hung above the bed. It showed a woman in a black dress, her eyes dark and distant. No plaque, no name. Just that face, haunting and calm. Daniel unpacked his things. The bed creaked when he sat down. He turned on the radio, only static. The rain outside began to fall harder. He stared at the portrait. Something about the woman's expression unsettled him. Good subject for the story, he whispered. He began taking notes. Strange atmosphere. Staff avoid eye contact. Room 313 feels staged. He snapped a picture of the portrait. The flash flickered, and for a second, her eyes seemed open wider. Optical illusion, he said. He turned in early. The clock ticked softly on the nightstand. At 3:13 a.m., a sound woke him. A whisper. His name. Daniel. He froze. The voice was close, almost beside his ear. He turned on the lamp. No one. The portrait seemed different. The woman's lips were parted slightly. I need sleep, he muttered. But sleep never came. By morning, the rain had stopped. Downstairs, he asked the receptionist, who's the woman in 313? She looked startled. You shouldn't ask about her. Why not? Because she listens. Listens? Rooms remember people, Mr. Mercer. Especially the ones who never leave. Are you saying she was real? Everyone here was real once. She turned away before he could ask more. Daniel spent the day interviewing staff. Most refused to talk. One maid finally whispered, her name was Eliza Crane. Who was she? A guest. In 1929. She never checked out. What happened? They found her mirror smashed and her portrait burned. Then what's that painting in my room? The maid's face drained of color. There shouldn't be one. That night, Daniel studied old records. There was a single line in the archives, Eliza Crane, presumed dead. Room 313 sealed. Sealed, he muttered. He turned off the lamp and stared at the portrait again. The woman's eyes glimmered faintly in the dark. Who were you, Eliza? He whispered. The air turned cold. The lamp flickered on by itself. On the wall, faint letters appeared beneath the painting. Help me. Daniel stumbled back. Okay, that's new, he breathed. He grabbed his camera and snapped a photo. When the flash cleared, the letters were gone. But his phone showed them clearly in the image. He uploaded it to his laptop. The timestamp read 3:13 a.m. Again. The room hummed with faint static. The radio came on by itself. A soft woman's voice whispered through the crackle. "He killed me." Daniel froze. "Who?" he whispered. He watches still. "Who are you talking about? Look behind the frame." The voice faded. Daniel's pulse hammered. He pulled the portrait from the wall. Behind it was a small compartment. Dust poured out. Inside lay a diary, brittle and yellowed. Property of Eliza Crane. He opened it carefully. He promised me safety. He promised he'd never hurt me again. Another line read, "If anyone finds this, don't trust the man at the desk." The man at the desk? Daniel whispered. He thought of the hotel manager. A tall man, polite but oddly watchful. He decided to confront him. "This diary," Daniel said, holding it up, "belonged to Eliza Crane." The manager blinked slowly. "You went into the wall? You knew it was there. Everyone who finds her diary disappears. What did you do to her?" "She died of her own choices," he said. "That's not what she wrote. You should leave tonight." "Not until I finish my story. Then it will finish you." Daniel returned to his room. The portrait now faced the window. He hadn't moved it. "Eliza," he said, "what happened here?" The floor creaked. He turned. A figure stood by the bed. The woman from the portrait. Pale, silent, eyes full of sorrow. "He locked me here," she whispered. "He took my voice." The manager? His name was Henry Crane. Daniel felt a chill. "Your husband? My murderer. Then why is he still here?" "Because you brought him." The light shattered. Darkness swallowed the room. Daniel stumbled toward the door. It wouldn't open. The key twisted itself in the lock. The air thickened, humming like electricity. A shadow formed near the window, tall, broad-shouldered, hat tilted low. "You shouldn't have read her words," it growled. Daniel reached for his camera. The flash fired, the shadow vanished. He bolted to the hallway. The corridor stretched endlessly. Every door was open. Each room identical. Portraits of Eliza on every wall. Her eyes followed him as he ran. He turned a corner, and found himself back at 313. "No way," he gasped. The door creaked open on its own. The diary lay on the bed. A new line had appeared inside it. "You can't leave until he does." Daniel backed away. "Fine," he whispered. "Then I'll end it." He rushed to the lobby. The manager stood there, smiling faintly. "Mr. Mercer," he said. "Checking out. You're Henry Crane. Names are old things, like ghosts. They fade. But we remain. You killed her. I kept her." Daniel grabbed a brass lamp and swung it. The glass shattered against the counter. The manager didn't move. His reflection in the mirror behind him did, smiling wider. "You can't fight what's already dead," he said. Daniel ran for the stairs. Flames flickered along the walls. The portraits were burning, or breathing. Voices screamed through the hall. "Free us." He reached the third floor. Smoke filled the air. Eliza's voice called from his room. "The portrait. Burn it." He kicked the door open. The painting shimmered like liquid. He threw the diary into it. The room shook violently. A scream tore through the air, Henry's. Then silence. When Daniel opened his eyes, the fire was gone. The room was clean, untouched. The portrait was empty, the woman's figure missing. Only the lake outside reflected the dawn. He packed quickly. Downstairs, no one was at the counter. Dust covered everything. The clock on the wall read 3:13. He stepped outside. The fog swallowed the hotel. On the train home, he reviewed his photos. Every image of Eliza was blank. Every note from her diary gone. Only one file remained. A single photo of himself sleeping, taken at 3:13 a.m. Impossible, he whispered. He looked out the window. The reflection beside him smiled faintly. Eliza. Thank you, she mouthed. Weeks later, his article published, The Vanishing Guests of Merrow House. It went viral overnight. Everyone wanted to know more. Daniel refused to speak about it. He stopped sleeping in hotels. He covered every mirror in his apartment. But some nights, the radio still turned on by itself. Always at 3:13. Always her voice. His knock gone. One evening, he found another envelope at his door. No sender. Inside was a brass key with a red ribbon. No, he whispered. He threw it into the fire. It didn't burn. Instead, the flames dimmed, like they bowed. The key began to glow faintly. He picked it up, trembling. The temperature dropped instantly. On his desk sat a new photo, one he hadn't taken. It showed the hotel lobby, empty. Behind the counter stood himself. No, he muttered. No, no. He checked his reflection, it didn't move. The air whispered, room 313 is waiting. His lights flickered out. The clock struck 3:13. Footsteps echoed from the hall. Eliza, he whispered. The door opened slowly. She stood there, pale and silent. You freed me, she said. Now free yourself. How? Tell my story right. I did. Not yet. She handed him the diary, whole, unburned. It ends when he forgives. The radio hissed. A deep voice spoke, I never forgive. Henry Crane's silhouette appeared in the corner. You took her from me, it hissed. She was never yours, Daniel said. The floorboards cracked beneath them. Shadows spilled out like smoke. Eliza reached for Daniel's hand. Don't let him win, she said. Not this time. The shadow lunged. Daniel raised the diary like a shield. Light burst from its pages. Henry screamed. The room shattered, walls dissolving into water. Daniel sank into darkness. He awoke by the lake outside the hotel. The building was gone. Only the reflection of room 313 shimmered on the surface. He whispered, it's over. It never is, said a voice behind him. He turned, no one. The brass key floated in the water. He reached for it. The reflection reached back. Two hands met beneath the surface. Then the lake went still. Days later, the police found his notebook on the shore. His last words scrawled inside, she's free. I'm not. They never found his body. The Merrow House reopened 3 years later under a new name. Guests spoke of whispers at night. Of a man in the mirror asking, do you believe in ghosts? Room 313 remained locked, but the key always appeared somewhere new. On tables. In drawers. Sometimes, in pockets. Always with a red ribbon. The portrait above the bed now showed two faces. They were both smiling.